You know when you meet someone and everything feels electric, like the universe is messing with you on purpose? Well, that was me last weekend, except I had no idea it was about to get even weirder. Picture this. I'm at this little coffee shop downtown, the kind with exposed brick walls and indie music playing softly, just minding my own business, sipping on a cappuccino that's way too fancy for me. I'm scrolling through my phone, half listening to the chatter around me, when this guy walks in and I swear, time just slowed down. He had this kind of presence that you don't forget. Tall, dark hair that looked effortlessly messy, and eyes that were the exact shade of stormy gray. I don't know what it was, but I felt like I'd seen him before. Or maybe it was just the way he looked, like he belonged in a movie or something. Anyway, he ordered a black coffee, then scanned the room like he was looking for someone. Without thinking, I told myself, okay, don't be weird, just be cool. But then he turned in my direction, caught me looking, and smiled. Not just a polite smile, the kind of smile that makes you think, wait, am I about to make a huge mistake? Or something amazing? I smiled back because, honestly, what else was I supposed to do? Turns out, his name was Alex. We started talking, and it was one of those conversations that feels like it could last forever. We joked, we talked about music and movies, and everything just clicked. I was that guy. Actually into someone for once, without all the usual awkwardness or trying too hard. But then, just as I was starting to relax and think maybe he was too good to be true, things got complicated. Alex suddenly froze, looked at me with this weird mix of confusion and something else, kind of like recognition, but twisted. Then he leaned in, really close, and I swear he whispered, "Is that you, Jamie?" And that's when I realized he thought I was his ex. There I was, sitting across from this incredibly attractive guy, about to get kissed by someone who honestly believed I was someone else. For a moment, I didn't know whether to laugh, freak out, or just run for the door. But then Alex smiled again, like he didn't care if I was Jamie or not. The thing is, I didn't know who Jamie was, but I knew this night was going to be unforgettable. And honestly, I wasn't sure if I should stop him or just see where it led. So yeah, that's how it started. The night I met a guy who thought I was his ex and still tried to kiss me. And if you're wondering what happened next, well, buckle up, because it only gets crazier from here. I wasn't entirely sure what to say. I mean, it's not every day a perfect stranger mistakes you for their ex and then leans in like he's about to kiss you. So I just blinked a few times, trying to process what was happening. "Jamie?" I asked, my voice a little shaky. "You sure?" Alex nodded, but there was this flicker in his eyes, like he was trying to place me but also wondering if maybe his memory was playing tricks on him. "Yeah," he said quietly. "You look different, but it's definitely you." I wanted to laugh but didn't want to hurt him. I mean, what if Jamie was someone important to Alex? What if this was some sort of emotional hangover? So, I said, trying to keep it light, "Who's Jamie?" Alex hesitated, then ran a hand through his hair, looking suddenly vulnerable. "He was someone I really cared about," he said slowly. "We dated for almost 2 years. It ended badly." I nodded, sensing that what Alex was about to say next probably wasn't easy for him. "I'm sorry," I said. "Breakups please me." He gave me a half smile, then glanced around the coffee shop like he was nervous about being overheard. "I haven't seen him in months," he confessed. "We stopped talking after the split. But tonight, I thought I saw him. And when I looked closer, it was you." I sat back in my chair, rubbing my chin. "So what? You came over because you thought I was Jamie?" "Yeah," Alex said honestly. "I guess part of me wanted to see if maybe there was still something left. I know it sounds crazy, but you're him. The weird part? It didn't feel crazy at all. There was this strange magnetic pull between us, like the universe had made a mistake mixing our lives together, but maybe it was trying to fix something." Before I could say anything else, Alex reached across the table and took my hand. His fingers were warm, and his touch wasn't hesitant. It was hopeful. And honestly, that made my heart race. "Look," I said, trying to be upfront because I'm all about honesty, "I'm not Jamie. But I don't want to just walk away from this if there's a chance we can figure out what this is." He squeezed my hand gently, relief flooding his face. Yeah, me neither. We ended up talking for hours. We shared stories about who Jamie was. Apparently, a musician, a bit of a dreamer, and someone who left a mark on Alex's life. But Alex also told me about his own dreams, his fears, and why he was here this night, in this coffee shop, feeling like he might be chasing ghosts. By the time the place was closing, it felt like we'd known each other for way longer than a few hours. I realized I was actually excited to see where this could go, even if it started with mistaken identity. Outside, the cool night air hit us, and Alex looked up at the stars. You know, he said softly, I was so scared tonight, scared I'd never move on, but now, maybe this is a sign. I smiled, feeling that same weird excitement bubbling up. Maybe. Then, out of nowhere, he leaned in again, not like before, uncertain, but with this quiet confidence. Our lips barely touched, light and testing, but it was enough to send a shiver down my spine. And just like that, everything changed. The kiss was brief, but it hit me like a jolt of electricity. When Alex pulled back slightly, we both just sat there, caught off guard, but not wanting to break the connection we'd just created. Wow, I said, breaking the silence with a nervous laugh. That was unexpected. He grinned, a little sheepishly. Yeah, sorry if that was too fast. No, don't apologize. Honestly, I wanted more. I just didn't expect my night to end like this. We started walking, aimlessly, down the quiet city streets, the kind that only come alive at night, with that soft glow from street lamps, and the occasional hum of a distant bar. It felt natural, like we were in our own little world, where the past didn't matter and the future was wide open. So, I said, glancing at him, You've been carrying this Jamie thing around for a while, huh? Alex nodded. More than I thought. I didn't realize how much until tonight. Seeing you, it stirred all these memories I thought I'd buried. I could see it in his eyes, the mix of nostalgia and pain. Then he told me about their relationship, the laughs, the fights, the slow drift apart. Jamie had been his first serious boyfriend, the one who introduced him to the idea of love, of being himself without filters. But when Jamie started distancing himself, Alex said it felt like losing a part of himself. I guess I wasn't ready to let go, he admitted quietly. So when I saw you, it was like I got a second chance. I wanted to reach out and tell him it was okay to hold on, but also okay to move forward. Instead, I squeezed his hand and said, Maybe this second chance isn't about Jamie. Maybe it's about you and me. He looked at me with that same stormy gaze, and I swear, for a moment, the city around us faded. It was just us, two guys tangled up in a mess of mistaken identity. But maybe, just maybe, something real. We ended up at a little park bench near the river, the water glistening under the moonlight. I could feel the tension between us building, but it wasn't the nervous, unsure kind. It was something deeper, more honest. Like we were both tired of pretending and ready to take a risk. So, Alex said, breaking the silence again, what now? Do we keep pretending I'm seeing ghosts? Or do we figure out what this really is? I laughed because it felt like the perfect question for a situation that had been totally unexpected from the start. I say we figure it out, I said, meaning it. He smiled, and then we kissed again, softer this time, like we were testing the waters but eager to dive in. And in that moment, I realized I didn't need to be Jamie to want to be close to Alex. Maybe what started as a mistake could turn into something real, something worth holding on to. As the night wore on, we talked about everything, our families, what we wanted out of life, the kind of love we hoped to find. And with each word, the space between us grew smaller until it felt like we were the only two people in the world. By the time the first signs of dawn peeked over the horizon, I knew one thing for sure. Meeting Alex was no accident. It was messy, confusing, and completely unexpected, but it was the start of a story I didn't want to end anytime soon. The sun was just starting to peek over the city skyline when we finally decided to call it a night. I glanced at Alex, who looked surprisingly calm for someone who had just spent hours unpacking old wounds and sharing his heart with a total stranger. Funny how life throws you curveballs, and sometimes you catch them. So I said, what happens now? We don't exactly have a normal meet-cute story to fall back on. He chuckled, his breath still warm against my skin from our last kiss. No, we don't, but maybe that's okay. Normal's overrated. I like that answer. It felt honest, unpretentious, like everything between us was new but real. There was no pressure, no expectation, just two guys figuring out how to be close without all the usual awkwardness. We exchanged numbers, the kind of moment that felt heavier than it should, like this was more than just a fling or a one-night thing. I could tell Alex felt it too. The next day, I kept replaying everything in my head. The way he looked at me, the softness in his voice when he talked about Jamie, and that moment when he thought I was someone else but still chose to stay. It was strange, confusing, and kind of beautiful. Over the next few days, we texted nonstop. Our conversations were a mix of playful teasing, deep confessions, and the usual back and forth about what to eat or which show to binge next. Every message felt like another thread weaving us closer. Then came our first real date. Not the awkward, forced kind, but something easy and natural. We met at a tiny vinyl record store in the neighborhood, a place that smelled like nostalgia and possibility. Alex was already there, flipping through records with that same focused look he had the night we met. "Found anything good?" I asked, walking up behind him. He turned around with a grin. "Maybe. Wanna see?" He held up a classic jazz album, the cover worn but still vibrant. I smiled because it reminded me of how he talked about music bringing people together. We wandered through the aisles, sharing stories about our favorite songs and the memories tied to them. It felt like we were discovering not just music but each other. By the time we left the store, the sky had turned a soft shade of pink, and I realized I hadn't felt this connected to someone in a long time. After that, things moved quickly but never rushed. We cooked dinner together, laughing as we burned more food than we ate. We went hiking on weekends, sharing secret spots where the city felt miles away. And every time we were together, I learned something new about Alex. The way he smiled when he thought no one was watching, his stubbornness when it came to trivia games, and the vulnerability he tried so hard to hide. But even as we got closer, the shadow of Jamie lingered. Alex was honest about it, telling me that sometimes he still caught himself expecting Jamie to walk through the door or call him. And I didn't blame him. Breakups like that leave scars, and moving on isn't always a straight line. One night, we were sitting on my couch, the room lit only by the soft glow of a lamp. Alex looked at me with that familiar mix of hope and hesitation. "I want to be with you," he said quietly, "but I also want to be fair, to myself and to Jamie's memory." I reached out, brushing a stray hair from his forehead. "You don't have to choose between the past and the present. They can both be part of your story. But right now, I'm here. And I'm not going anywhere." He smiled, that slow, genuine smile that made my heart do this stupid little flip every time. From that moment, things felt different. Like the past wasn't a weight dragging us down, but a bridge that helped us understand each other better. We started making plans, small ones at first, like taking a weekend trip out of the city or meeting some of each other's friends. And even though the road ahead was uncertain, I realized something important. Sometimes love doesn't come wrapped in neat packages or perfect timing. Sometimes it arrives disguised as a mistake, a mix-up, a moment where the universe sneaks in and says, "Hey, try this on for size." And if I'm being honest, I kind of like it. A few weeks in, things were settling into a rhythm I hadn't expected but was definitely grateful for. Alex and I were still learning each other's quirks and rhythms, and every day felt like peeling back another layer of something complicated and, honestly, pretty damn wonderful. But then, one afternoon, Alex called me sounding a little off. Not like he was upset or anything, just not himself. I could hear the hesitation in his voice, like he was chewing on some words, but wasn't sure if he was ready to spit them out. "Hey," I said, trying to keep it light. "What's up?" There was a pause. "Can we talk? Like, in person?" "Yeah, of course. Want to come over? Actually, I was thinking maybe you could come to my place. I have something I want to show you." Curiosity piqued, I agreed, and we set a time for that evening. When I got to his apartment, the door was open before I even knocked. Alex was standing there with that same nervous energy, the kind that tells you something's about to get real. He led me inside, where the apartment was dim except for the glow of his laptop screen. On it was a video, marked Jamie. "I found this the other day," Alex said quietly. "I wasn't sure if I should show it to anyone, but I want you to see it." I sat down beside him, and the video started playing. It was grainy, like something recorded on a phone, and I could see Jamie smiling, laughing, and talking about a dream he had of starting a band and traveling the world. There was something bittersweet about watching someone you don't know, but who's still such a big part of someone you care about. When the video ended, Alex looked at me with those stormy eyes all over again. "He was my first love," he said softly, "and even though we didn't end up together, that part of him is still inside me." I reached out, taking his hand in mine. "Thank you for sharing that with me." He squeezed my hand. "I want you to know, I'm not trying to replace him. I just want to find something new, something that's ours." I nodded, feeling the weight of that. "I get it, and I'm here for it. For us." That night we talked for hours, about memories and regrets, about hopes and fears. It felt like a turning point, not because the past disappeared, but because we were choosing to make space for something new. In the days that followed, we started planning a weekend getaway. Just the two of us, away from the city and the noise. Somewhere we could breathe, talk, and maybe figure out what this all meant. The trip was simple but perfect. We rented a small cabin by a lake, where the only sounds were the rustling of leaves and the occasional call of a bird. We cooked together, went for hikes, and sat by the fire at night, sharing stories and dreams. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Alex turned to me and said, "I think I'm ready to try again. Fully. With you." My heart skipped a beat. Me too. And just like that, the messy, complicated start to our story felt like the foundation of something real. Something worth fighting for. Because sometimes, love isn't about perfect timing or clean breaks. It's about showing up, being honest, and taking a chance, even if you start out as someone's mistaken ex. After that weekend, things between Alex and me started to feel different, like we'd crossed some invisible line that only two people who've been through their own storms can see. It wasn't that the past disappeared. It was more like we'd made room for it, but refused to let it control us. A few days after we got back, Alex invited me over for dinner. He was excited, like he'd been planning something for a while but wasn't sure how to bring it up. When I arrived, his apartment smelled like garlic and rosemary, and he was nervously pacing the kitchen. "What's going on?" I asked, dropping my jacket and eyeing the half-chopped veggies on the counter. He stopped and grinned. "I've been working on something. Thought maybe you'd want to see it." Curious. I followed him into the living room, where his laptop was open and a folder labeled Music Project was sitting on the desktop. "So," he said, sitting next to me, "remember how I told you Jamie was a musician? Well, I started writing again, inspired by, well, everything." He clicked play, and a soft, acoustic melody filled the room, his voice low and a little rough but honest. The lyrics were about losing someone, holding on, and finding new hope in unexpected places. I could feel the emotion pouring out, raw and real. When the song ended, I looked at him, genuinely impressed. "Alex, this is incredible." He shrugged, blushing a little. "I don't know if it's good, but it's honest. That's what matters, right?" "That's everything," I said. "Thank you for sharing this with me." The night stretched on with more music, stories, and laughter. It was one of those rare evenings where everything just clicks, and you realize you're exactly where you're supposed to be. But as much as I was falling for Alex, there was still that lingering question about Jamie. We hadn't really talked about him in a while, and I could tell Alex was trying to figure out how much of his past to share and when. One afternoon, I found him scrolling through old photos on his phone, his thumb lingering over pictures of Jamie and him smiling, arms around each other like they were invincible. "Do you want to talk about him?" I asked gently. He sighed, setting the phone down. "I do sometimes. It's weird, you know. I'm happy with you, but there's still this part of me that remembers the good times with Jamie. Like a chapter that's ended but left its mark. I nodded, understanding more than I probably should. I get that. It's okay to remember. Just don't let it keep you from writing new chapters. He smiled softly, reaching for my hand. Thanks for being patient with me. You don't have to thank me. I want to be here. For the good, the messy, and everything in between. As weeks turned into months, our relationship deepened. We fell into routines. Lazy Sunday mornings with coffee and music, spontaneous road trips to nowhere in particular, and quiet nights where just being near each other felt like enough. One night, we were lying on the couch, the city lights twinkling outside the window, when Alex turned to me with a serious look. I've been thinking, he said, about how Jamie's still part of my story, but you're becoming my future. My heart skipped. That's probably the nicest thing I've ever heard. He laughed, then reached out to tuck a stray strand of hair behind my ear. I want us to be open, with each other, with the people in our lives. No secrets, I agreed. Honesty had been our foundation, and I wasn't about to let anything come between us now. And then, just like that, he kissed me. Slow, deliberate, like he was sealing a promise. I kissed him back, thinking how wild and unexpected all of this was. How a case of mistaken identity had brought me to this moment. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't smooth, but it was ours. And sometimes, that's all that matters. The days after that night felt like we'd stepped into a new chapter without even realizing it. There was a comfort between us now, like we'd built this quiet understanding that no matter what the past held, we were choosing to face the future together. It was easy, but not in a boring way, more like the kind of easy that comes from knowing someone's got your back. One Saturday afternoon, Alex invited me over for brunch. When I got there, the place smelled like freshly baked bread and strong coffee. He was in the kitchen, humming low while flipping pancakes with a little too much focus. I swear I'm going to perfect this recipe one day, he joked when he saw me standing in the doorway. I grinned. Well, it smells amazing, so you're already halfway there. We sat down at the small kitchen table, and for a while, we just ate. No phones, no distractions, just the sound of the city outside and the clinking of plates. After a bit, Alex leaned back and looked at me with that half-serious, half-nervous look he sometimes got when he wanted to say something important but wasn't sure how. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Of course. Have you ever thought about us? Like what this could mean long-term?" I took a moment, thinking about the whirlwind of these past months. The first awkward meeting, the confusion, the music, the late-night talks, the slow unraveling of two people finding each other. I admitted. And honestly, I want to see where this goes. With you. He reached across the table, taking my hand in his. Good. Because I've been thinking about it too. I want to be more than just a chapter in your life. I want to be a part of your story. There was something about the way he said it, so sincere and raw, that made my chest tighten. I squeezed his hand back, trying to put into words the mix of excitement and nerves swirling inside me. I think we owe it to ourselves to try, I said. He smiled, relief washing over his face. Me too. From that day, things started shifting. We began meeting each other's friends, introducing ourselves as a couple without hesitation. There were awkward moments. Sure, the kind where you realize some people still have assumptions or that it can be weird explaining your story, but Alex handled it with this quiet grace that made me proud. One evening, after a dinner with his closest friends, we were walking back to my place under the streetlights, the city buzzing softly around us. "Do you ever think about how crazy our story is?" I asked, laughing softly. He looked at me, eyes bright. "All the time. I mean, who gets kissed by a stranger who thinks they're their ex and then falls for him?" I smiled, leaning into him. "Apparently we do." He laughed and wrapped his arm around my shoulders. I wouldn't change a thing. But beneath the easy smiles, I could tell Alex was still navigating some inner stuff. One afternoon, while we were lounging on the couch watching a movie, he suddenly went quiet, his gaze distant. "Hey." I nudged gently. "What's up?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I guess sometimes I still feel that pull from the past. Like Jamie's shadow is there, even when I'm with you." I nodded, not surprised. It's okay to feel that way. Healing isn't linear. He gave me a small, grateful smile. Thanks for being patient. I pulled him close, resting my chin on his head. I'm here for all of it. The good, the messy, and the in-between. That night, as we lay tangled together, I realized that love isn't just about the spark or the butterflies. It's about showing up, day after day, even when things get complicated. A few weeks later, on a quiet Sunday morning, Alex surprised me. He handed me a small, wrapped box, eyes twinkling with excitement. "What's this?" I asked, curiosity winning over. He shrugged, a shy smile playing on his lips. "Just something I've been working on." Inside was a USB drive. I plugged it into my laptop, and a playlist appeared, songs Alex had written, recorded, and compiled over the past few months. Each track told a piece of his story, a journey from heartbreak to hope, from loss to love. As I listened, I felt like I was getting a glimpse into his soul, laid bare in melody and lyrics. When the last song faded out, I looked up, and he was watching me intently. "That's my heart," he said softly. "I want you to have it." I reached out, pulling him into a tight hug. "You have mine too, Alex. All of it." In that moment, I knew that mistakes and mix-ups aside, sometimes love shows up in the messiest, most unexpected ways, and if you're lucky, it's exactly what you needed all along. There's this quiet moment I keep coming back to, the kind that feels small but means everything. It was a few weeks after Alex gave me that playlist, after we'd spent countless days figuring out how to be us without losing ourselves in the process. We were sitting on my balcony, the city lights flickering below us like distant stars, wrapped up in a comfortable silence that only comes when two people truly know each other. Alex turned to me, his eyes reflecting the soft glow from the street lamps. "You know," he said, "I never thought I'd find something real again. Not after everything." I smiled, reaching for his hand. "Neither did I. But here we are." He squeezed my hand gently, then let out a slow breath, like finally releasing the weight he'd been carrying. "Meeting you, being with you, it's changed everything. I'm not the same person I was when I thought I was chasing the past." I nodded, feeling the same truth settling deep inside me. It's like we built something new from all the chaos. Not perfect, but ours, and that's what matters. We sat for a while longer, just holding on to that feeling. No grand declarations, no fireworks, just two people who'd taken a chance on something messy and found something beautiful. Later that night, as I watched Alex fall asleep beside me, peaceful and real, I realized what I'd been searching for wasn't the perfect story. It was someone willing to show up, mistakes and all, and build something steady in the face of uncertainty. Love, I've learned, isn't about flawless beginnings or picture-perfect moments. It's about the quiet persistence to stay, to listen, to grow together, even when the past tries to pull you back. And honestly, I wouldn't trade this journey for anything. Because sometimes, the best love stories start with a little confusion, a case of mistaken identity, and the courage to see what comes next. So here we are, still figuring it out, still learning every day, but doing it side by side. And for me, that's more than enough.